And let's begin with something that I saw yesterday that I think we really need to put in the proper context, Chris, and that is the report from NFL Network that the Giants are taking a very close look at quarterback Justin Herbert. Yes, 1 year after they drafted Daniel Jones, the Giants, studying carefully Oregon quarterback Justin Herbert, a guy they really may have liked last year if he had come out but didn't. This year, they have a guy in Daniel Jones that they presumably aren't going to be throwing overboard. So, Chris, why do you think they'd be taking such a close look at Justin Herbert?
Well, Mike, we've talked about this a lot, right? I mean, this is the same conversation we had 10 days ago or 2 weeks ago when it pertained to the Washington Redskins and why they were doing deep dive into the quarterback situation. Yes, I mean, they're expecting there could be some action at for the number 4th pick. And they know that, okay, will it be a team that's worried about leapfrogging Miami at number 5? And if they do that, more times than not, it is for a quarterback. And Justin Herbert, I think, is widely viewed right now, especially with all the Tua injury concerns, as the number 2 quarterback in this draft. So they're doing their due diligence. They're giving them one last scouting report to really know the guy one more time so they can hold the team's feet to the fire a little bit. Oh, man, we evaluated him. Whoa, does he have a big arm? Whoa, great size, great athlete. Whoa, I don't know. I don't know if that's enough assets for this trade to happen. We really think this is a really good quarterback. So that ultimately, I think, is the biggest reason they're doing that. And you're right, Mike. I mean, the other thing is that they got to have a lot of homework on this guy already, because anything I heard last year, they were hot on Justin Herbert if he was going to come out and had people at his games constantly. So I would think they have a pretty big notebook on this guy by this point in time.
Yeah, and I think the key is if you are trading out of the 4th overall spot in the draft, you're not just giving it up because somebody wants to say, hey, we picked 4th. They're coming up for a player. And the more you know about the player that the team would be coming up for, the better suited you are to negotiate in an effective way, in a way that isn't just flying by the seat of your pants. Now, it would be even more valuable if you could convince the team you're negotiating with that you actually may just take the guy yourself, but that's going to be a hard sell. And here's the thing. We have seen crazier stuff than the Giants deciding under Joe Judge to go with Justin Herbert instead of Daniel Jones. But I don't know why in the world Joe Judge, who's really not an offensive guru, would want to come in with his own system and want to have his own quarterback. Joe Judge comes in as a special teams coordinator who was a receivers coach for 1 year along with that to maybe remove the stigma, which shouldn't exist for special teams coordinators to get head coaching jobs. So it's not quite the same as if you're drafting some offensive mastermind who has a vision for a system that Daniel Jones doesn't fit.
This is not Josh Rosen, Kyler Murray, is what you're saying, with Cliff Kingsbury as a new head coach, right? I mean, that's basically what you're saying, and I agree with you. You're right. Yeah. I mean, Joe Judge, he came from New England. We know that. Daniel Jones, I think Josh McDaniels was chomping at the bit to get involved in that Giants head coaching conversation because he thought Daniel Jones was a good football player. Daniel Jones is a New England type of guy and persona, the way he handles himself, the way he plays, and he's a Giant guy. He's a New York Giant guy. So yes, they're not making a play at the quarterback situation. This is strictly for trade purposes, and like you said, just so they have more knowledge of the player for negotiating purposes when that trade goes down.
Because you've got the Chargers at number 6, who could possibly want to come up to number 4 to get in front of the Dolphins. The Panthers at number 7, who may decide to cut the line to get in front of the Dolphins. And ultimately, Chris, we talked about this yesterday, the possibility of the Dolphins just doing the flip-flop. The Giants squeezing them to come up to 4 in lieu of trading the pick to somebody who would cut the line in front of the Miami Dolphins. So, again, that all depends upon whether and to what extent the Dolphins, the Chargers, and the Panthers covet Justin Herbert. Nobody is going to admit to any of that now, but this is just part of the pre-draft process while everyone kind of feels out where things are, where the opportunities may be, where the trades may happen, and this is all part of the necessary work that gets done so that the Giants can engage in a meaningful conversation about the value of Justin Herbert, who would be, presumably, the 4th pick, unless the Lions trade down with someone and that team makes Herbert pick number 3. All right, the 49ers have pick number 13 and number 31. They picked up the 13th pick via the trade that sent DeForest Buckner to the Indianapolis Colts. via ESPN, the 49ers have put out the word that they are open to trading either of those spots, number 13 or number 31. And look, this is part of the pre-draft process too. I saw a tweet earlier today that Washington is receiving calls for the second overall pick in the draft, but they're not intent on moving it. Yeah, that's what happens the week of the draft. The teams with the highest picks receive calls from the teams that are lower, just so that if something does potentially happen on draft night, there is some sort of foundation there that is in place, so you have an idea of what the parameters would be, what the team is looking for hypothetically. Those conversations have to occur now, or they become impossible to execute on Thursday night, Chris, especially while we're trying to do this stay-at-home draft that may or may not have some glitches or may or may not have some issues. So the 49ers have the 2 first-round picks. They've got nothing in round 2, 3, and 4. They would like to slide back, if they could, to pick up more lottery tickets in rounds 2, 3, and 4, where they have nothing this year.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's as simple as that. I mean, I think that Kyle Shanahan, John Lynch, the 49ers, they're just letting everybody know. Right now, hey, we're open for business. They have a very good football team, as we know. And I'm sure they want to add, like you're saying, more picks in the second, third round, more depth to their football team. They got some guys that are getting older that they probably feel they got to fill the holes there for too. So this is not surprising at all as far as what the 49ers are talking about. Trading these picks, they're not trading to move up. I don't think it's anything like that. I think it is all about, trading down, accumulating picks. If you go down in the first round, there's a lot of talented football players to be had in the first 32 picks of this draft. And I think a lot of teams are looking at it going, okay, yeah, we're here, but if we trade down 6 spots, we can get a similar guy with just a slightly less grade, just a few spots down. And while doing that, we can get more draft picks in the process of all of this. So I think there's a lot of teams in business, just like we talked about with the Giants talking about that, Detroit. And I think that's the biggest reason I look at Thursday night. I'm excited for it because I think there could be a lot of trades and chaos, especially with this new technological format we got.
And when you have a quarterback that is making more than $25, $26 million a year, and his cap number this year is north of 26, and you've got a pass rusher in D Ford who's got a big cap number, and you're just 2 seasons away from being expected to pay Nick Bosa huge money, the more young, cheap guys you get, the better off you're going to be. You want guys that are coming in on that rookie wage scale, minimum salary, plus a signing bonus based on their slot. You get a lot of those guys, and you let them become the nucleus. Then you can have that mix of some highly paid guys and some guys who aren't getting paid very much. And beyond Bosa and Jimmy Garoppolo and D Ford, the more successful the 49ers are, Chris, the more guys are going to want to get paid. The more guys are going to be in line to get paid. The more guys you're going to potentially lose to free agency. So you better have that pipeline of young guys. And the more picks you get, the more guys you potentially have to step up and replace free agents who inevitably will leave because you can't pay everyone.
No doubt about it. I mean, yeah, hey, John Lynch, we know he's very smart. Kyle Shanahan, yes, he's my friend, but I mean, he lives this, that, and we've talked about it, you and I off air, and he's constantly thinking about how to build his team, the next move, 2 moves down the line. And also, this is a guy that's very into the history of football and what's made teams successful and what has not. He struck up a relationship with Bill Belichick, we've heard, right, ever since the Jimmy Garoppolo trade. And I know, I've had this conversation with Kyle. Yes, he's very aware that New England is New England because Bill Belichick was always willing to do the things you talked about, Mike. Low-level free agents, lots of draft picks, not spending a ton of money or allotting a lot of the salary cap to just a very few amount of guys on your football team. I think Kyle Shanahan is very aware of that aspect of trying to build a team that can sustain hot, great level of play for a long, long time. And I would think this is a big part of Kyle's thinking process in this whole thing.
And you hear different names as it relates to the 49ers, like GM John Lynch, Parag Marathe, the contractual mastermind. There is no doubt in league circles, though, that Kyle Shanahan runs the show there. He doesn't wear it on his sleeve. It hasn't been established as firmly as it is that Bill Belichick runs the show in New England. But make no mistake about it, Kyle Shanahan runs that show, and if he wants to trade down, if he wants to pull that trigger, that's what they're going to do.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, he has full power. He's running the San Francisco 49ers organization. Now he's not like, maybe I don't want to say, I don't mean this in a disrespectful way. I'm kind of just saying this for lack of a better way to say it. Maybe not quite the dictator Bill Belichick is in New England, right? But he's got a great way, Kyle, of communicating, delegating responsibilities, taking in what everybody has to say. But then ultimately, he's going to lean on his own football knowledge and his studies and what he thinks needs to be done for the football team. So, yes, Kyle, he's aggressive. We've seen that already in his first few years as a head coach. He's not afraid to make moves, whether it's for Dee Ford or Emmanuel Sanders or the trade for Jimmy Garoppolo. Hey, their first the draft, they went from pick 2 to pick number 3. So I think, between Kyle and John Lynch, a lot of football IQ there and guys that are not afraid to make some moves to be aggressive to help their football team.
He's got a different personality than Bill Belichick, which I think keeps him from having that dictator persona. Plus, he doesn't have the pelts on the wall and or pellets on the horse, whichever phrase you prefer. Once you start winning Super Bowls as a head coach, that's when the aura around you changes. And who knows if that happens once Kyle Shanahan starts to amass Super Bowl trophies. One thing about the 49ers, though, if they do use those 2 picks, number 13 and 31, it will be the 7th time since 2000 that they have used 2 first-round draft picks. That's unbelievable.
Wow.
But they have 6 prior times during this century, this millennium, used 2 first-round picks. And I'll tell you what, they hit it big in 2007 with Patrick Willis and Joe Staley. Staley's still on the team, and they're expecting him to play at least one more year.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, well, hey, listen, there's a reason that we saw that Jim Harbaugh, Trent Baalke team there in San Francisco be one of the most dominant football teams in the league for about a 2 or 3 year period. And one of the all Adonis, one of the all off the bus teams. Like they were one of those teams, Mike, when I was working in New England in 2012 and pregame, watching, Patrick Willis, Navarro Bowman, Joe Staley, some of the other guys that you were like, whoa, this is one physical freak after another. So they must have killed it in the draft to build a team like that. But that's amazing to have that many multiple picks in the first round that many times so far this millennium.
One more note before we go. Peter King mentioned yesterday that there's a rumor making the rounds that the Chiefs may try to trade up to get not a defensive back, not a lineman, another receiver. Henry Ruggs, who ran the 4.27 at the scouting combine. I mean, how in the world? Now, first of all, the fact that there's a rumor out there that the Chiefs are thinking about trading up for receiver Henry Ruggs makes me wonder whether or not they really are, because if they really were, we wouldn't know about it like with Patrick Mahomes. We didn't know about it until it happened. But let's say it has managed to sneak out that they are thinking about Henry Ruggs. Tyreek Hill, Sammy Watkins, Mecole Hardman. Now, Watkins in the last year of his contract with the Chiefs, but wow, if you add – and this is what you're going to have to do as you're getting ready to pay Patrick Mahomes. I think you're going to have to draft a receiver every year because you're not going to be able to pay these guys. Watkins is going to be gone after 2020. Tyreek Hill will be gone at some point. Then Mecole Hardman will be gone. And then Henry Ruggs, if they get him, will be gone. And they're just going to keep cycling receivers through as the guys who catch the passes for Patrick Mahomes.
I think that's exactly right. I mean, I think if they're going to be able to manage a football team and build it the right way, that, yes, some sacrifices will have to be made. And, yeah, you're not going to get to keep a receiver for 2 contracts and give the guy, a $100 million contract on that second one if you're paying Patrick Mahomes $40-45 million a year. Yeah, so, I mean, it's smart. I don't know if I believe this rumor quite yet. Okay, first off, I think you're going to have to trade up pretty high into the first round to assure that you get yourself a guy like Henry Ruggs. I think he's going to go somewhere between, 11 and 22. So that's going to be a pretty remarkable jump. And also I think right now you got 3 receivers who are burners. It's not a need. I understand that, but you'll have other burners come out next year in the draft too. I don't know if I think that's the wisest decision is what I'm saying. I think there's other holes to be filled right now in the Kansas City Chiefs roster.
And if you're the Chiefs and you're interested in doing this, you pick your limit, you pick your ceiling, you have that
That's
tentative
right.
deal in place. Let's say at number 16, number 17, number 18, and if Ruggs is still there, you do the deal. They surely had something like that in place back in 2017 when they made the jump up from 27 to 10 to get Patrick Mahomes. They weren't going to make that trade if Mahomes wasn't there, and maybe they didn't have anything. They played it out. They took the chance 1 through 9 that he wasn't going to be picked, but their limit was 10, and that's where they got him. And who knows what their limit is for Ruggs. Maybe if it's just to 18 or 19, they'll do it. If it's all the way to 11 or 12, and they're not going to do it. And if he's gone, and they'll go elsewhere.